What's going on, everybody? It's Dwayne, back in for another video, back in for another reaction. And today is a beautiful day. You know why? Because we're doing a reaction on Sweden, everything Sweden. How does Sweden influence the world? Like, after the Eurovision and watching Loreen absolutely smash it and win Eurovision Song Contest 2023, I've thought to myself, as a person from England, I have never been to any Nordic countries or any of Scandinavia. I've not been to Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, nowhere in that area. I want to learn more about Sweden. I want to learn more about all the countries in that area. So this is Sweden today. So without further ado, how does Sweden influence the rest of the world? Let's go.
Learn about countries and cultures. On this channel, I research and share not only where a country is, its history and government, but also the people, products, and ideas they've had to help shape the lives of people around the world. Today, we learn about Sweden. You'll be amazed at how much this Nordic country of 10 million people has shared with our global community. What did you find interesting? What did we miss? Please share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below.
Start my day. Wake up, get up, stretch my.
Where is Sweden? So I do know that. I know that it is in Scandinavia. Nordic countries and Scandinavia, is that used interchangeably? Because I'm not too sure. I know it's in that part of the world.
Sweden is in Scandinavia, a northern region of Europe that includes Norway, Finland, and Denmark. Slightly larger than the state of California, it is the fourth largest country that is.
Oh, right. So, wow, America's big, isn't it? So it's slightly larger than California, the state. It's definitely better. It's definitely bigger than the UK then. Yo, that's another story for another day. I didn't know America was so big.
Completely in Europe. Sorry, Russia. If you're like me, the first thing that may come to mind when you think of Sweden is its natural beauty, with its miles of forest, northern lights, and its tendency to produce a lot of models. While all of that may be real, it doesn't reflect the lifestyle of most Swedes. In fact, 86% of all Swedes live in cities, not the countryside. Okay. Most Swedes live in the southern part of the country where temperatures are milder and they are more closely connected to the mainland Europe by the Öresund Bridge tunnel, which can take Swedes to Denmark and is the longest combined road and rail bridge.
Wow, look at that bridge. That is incredible. That's beautiful. Would you, I don't know, let me know in the comment section below. Have you guys like driven down that bridge? Like, the views must be amazing. Bit scary as well. Can't lie. You're literally driving over the ocean, but gorgeous. And he said something else. What did he say? No Swedes live in the southern part of Sweden. Why is that? If it's milder, do you guys just like cold weather?
In Europe. The capital of Sweden is Stockholm, with 1.6 million people. Stockholm is the most populated city in Sweden and all of Scandinavia.
Yeah, what comes from Sweden?
On a per capita basis, Sweden is one of the world's most successful exporters of popular music. Many Swedish artists have enjoyed great success on the British and American charts and in other European-speaking countries.
Yeah, literally, yeah, ABBA. Obviously, now we have Loreen. Who else is?
Bands such as ABBA, Ace of Base, Roxette, and the Cardigans have made it high on the billboards. But Swedish influence on music doesn't end there. Many American musicians, such as Taylor Swift, and pretty much every member of the iconic band The Beach Boys are descended from ancestors who were from Sweden.
Do you know what? I can see that. If you look at Taylor Swift, she looks Swedish. Whatever Swedish, in my mind, what a Swedish person would look like, Taylor Swift looks like she's from Sweden.
Time to give a sales pitch. Would you like to buy quality furniture at a reasonable price? Then you should head to the nearest IKEA, a Swedish furniture company that has 455 stores in 58 countries around.
That's probably one of the biggest Swedish exports. I love IKEA.
On the world. Much of what you can buy
not know that.
Also led the way in terms of making or keeping people healthy. Inventor Rune Elmquist made the first implantable pacemaker in 1958, with the first implanted by surgeon Ake Senning. It took time to perfect it, however, as the original patient needed 26 pacemakers over the rest of his life.
That is terrifying. Imagine needing that many pacemakers.
Giving him the amount of lives usually afforded to 3 cats. Nicorette was developed in the 1970s in Sweden. The chewing gum was the first Nicorette replacement product on the market and has helped many quit smoking.
Wow, so Swedish people, you've helped the rest of the world quit smoking. That's a very good thing. Like, it's crazy how much smoking has like been cut down. Like when I was a kid in the 90s, everyone smoked. Smoking everywhere. You could smoke in a pub. That was normal. Now it's just banned in any indoor area. And in England, you don't really see many people smoking. I mean, you see the odd people in the high street, but the majority of people don't smoke anymore, which is obviously down to things like Nicorette. So thank you very much, Sweden. Thank you very much.
As we shared in our video about Denmark, Scandinavia was home to the Vikings from the 8th to the 11th century. It is believed that Swedish Vikings mainly traveled east and south through the Baltic Sea and the rivers of Finland, Estonia, Russia, and even as far as Baghdad, Iraq. Arab traveler Ibn Fadlan, whose writings were the inspiration for Michael Crichton's novel Eaters of the Dead and the Antonio Banderas movie The 13th Warrior, described the Vikings of Sweden as follows. I have never seen more perfect physical specimens, tall as date palms, blonde and ruddy. They wear neither tunics nor caftans, but the men wear a garment which covers one side of the body and leaves the hand free. Each man...
Wow. Adonis is apparently Swedish men. I was going to say, so Sweden, some of the Vikings were like, it was all the Nordic countries, right? It was Denmark as well, and I think it was Finland, and it was Norway. Was it the Norwegian Vikings that came to Britain, came to Scotland and Northern England, and the Swedes went the other way?
And has an axe, a sword, and a knife, and keeps each by him at all times. The swords are broad and grooved, of Frankish sort. New Sweden was a colony along the Delaware River in North America from 1638 to 1655 in the present-day states of Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Fort Christina, which is in modern-day Wilmington, Delaware, was the first and main settlement. New Sweden was conquered by the Dutch in 1655 and incorporated into New Netherland, who in turn was taken over by the English 8 years later. Despite not lasting
just trading hands. You know what I mean? All the European countries claiming land.
Very long, the colony of New Sweden did make a great contribution to the developing American colonies. The log house. Originally a building style created by people in Finland, the log cabin became such a big symbol of the American frontier that most people believe it is an American structure.
I thought it was an American structure. When I think of a log cabin, that's very American to me. So that's amazing. So that's Sweden. Sweden, you guys invented log cabins.
Perhaps the oldest surviving log house in the United States is the C.A. North Nagle log house built around 1640 near Swedesboro, New Jersey. Stockholm Syndrome is a rare condition in which a person who is kidnapped or held hostage forms a bond with their captors. The term Stockholm Syndrome was first used by the media in 1973 when 4 hostages were taken during a bank robbery in Stockholm. The hostages surprisingly defended their captors after being released and would not agree to testify in court against them. Another fact that I found interesting.
That's really interesting, Stockholm Syndrome. So it happened in Stockholm and that's why it's named that. And the hostages, wasn't it the hostages started to, even though they had been taken hostage and obviously they were prisoners, right? They were prisoners. They had empathy for their capturer. They had empathy for the guy that inflicted, or female that inflicted that pain on them. So that's why it's called Stockholm Syndrome, because they developed feelings of love and kindness towards the person and empathy, which is weird. Yeah, it was very interesting.
In Swedish history include the Olympics being held in Stockholm in 1912. The star of the Olympics may have been Jim Thorpe, a man of Native American heritage who won both the pentathlon and the decathlon by a wide margin. The Associated Press named him the greatest athlete from the first 50 years of the 20th century. Though when you think of countries and neutrality, Switzerland usually comes to mind. But Sweden has been neutral the longest, having been at peace since 1814, 1 year longer than the Swiss.
Famous Swedes.
Carl Linnaeus, the father of modern taxonomy, was a Swedish botanist, zoologist, taxonomist, and physician who created binomial nomenclature, which is the modern system of naming organisms. On top of being known as the father of modern taxonomy, he is also one of the fathers of modern ecology. He is often on the lists of the most influential people in history. Alfred Nobel held 355 patents, the most important being dynamite. After the death of his brother, he was mistakenly identified as having died. And when he read his own obituary, he saw that he had been condemned for being the creator of dynamite and had been the cause of many deaths. To create a
I mean, you cannot blame him for creating dynamite. You're not, because it's not the item, it's not the bomb, it's the person, it's the people that use the bomb. Like, things can be used for good and bad. Dynamite, I'm not sure what you'd use it for good for. I don't know what you could use dynamite for which would have a great outcome. However, I don't think he should be blamed because he learned to make something that's kind of destructive.
A different legacy, he set aside his fortune in his will to fund the Nobel Prizes that are awarded each year in the areas of peace, physical science, literary works, chemistry, and medical science. With the money he left behind, the Nobel Prize became perhaps the greatest honor in the world. The 5 prizes each year were awarded to those who during the preceding year have conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. 4 of the 5 prizes are awarded every year in Stockholm, Sweden. Swedish-born Felix Arvid Ulf Kjellberg, better known as PewDiePie, is the most...
Do you know what? I never knew he was Swedish. He's one of the greatest YouTubers on YouTube of all time. Like, period. Him along with Mr. Beast. Like, wow. PewDiePie.
Famous YouTuber on the planet. His channel is the second most subscribed channel in the world with over 109 million subscribers. He is most known for his Let's Play videos and comedic shows. Jonna Jinten is another famous YouTuber from Sweden. She is quickly gaining on 3 million subscribers and creates amazing visually stunning videos about living in rural northern Sweden. You should definitely check out her channel.
Start it up.
Ooh, Swedish cuisine. I love food. Yes, I do not know. I can't, guys, I'm really sorry. I do not know of any Swedish food apart from the meatballs at IKEA. Is that Swedish? Because if that is, then I've definitely tried those before. But apart from that, I've never had any Swedish food. So let's see, or Swedish cuisine.
The smorgasbord comes from Sweden and is replicated in restaurants and family events worldwide. In short, it is a buffet meal of hot and cold hors d'oeuvres, salads, casserole dishes, meats, cheeses, and many other offerings. Traditionally a meal for a celebration, smorgasbord...
That looks good. That looks good. Cheeses. I can't even name it. Just looks good.
Smorgasbord became internationally known at the 1939 New York's World's Fair when it was offered at the Swedish Pavilion's Three Crowns restaurant. Swedish meatballs are also known worldwide.
There you go. Swedish meatballs. I have had Swedish meatballs, and I like them.
They typically are smaller than many other meatballs, and they are made with a 50-50 ratio of ground pork and ground beef. They are also spiced with allspice and nutmeg and are soaked in a gravy made up of butter, flour, heavy cream, Worcestershire sauce, and black pepper. Despite all of their wonderful culinary accomplishments, perhaps the most famous Swedish chef is the Swedish chef, a Muppet, known for his crazy cooking methods and his phrase, "Bort, bort, bort."
Okay. Sweden's government and
Sweden is a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. Their king is Carl XVI Gustaf, though his power...
Oh wait, you guys have a king. See, I did not know that. Carl Gustaf. I didn't know that, guys. I only know about our monarchy. I didn't know how... I know there's monarchies. I know there's kings and queens in other countries. This is very interesting.
Constitutional monarchy. Their king is Carl XVI Gustaf, though his power is mostly ceremonial. The Swedish government is formed according to the laws set out in the 1974 Instrument of Government, but much of its design can be traced to the Middle Ages when in the 12th century the Swedish Privy Council was formed. Their legislative body, the Riksdag, is housed in the Parliament House. The 349 members of the Riksdag are the decision-making body of Sweden. The Riksdag can be traced all the way back to 1435 in the form of the feudal Riksdag of the estates. Politics in Sweden are a bit different than in the United States, in part because they don't follow a two-party system. Currently, there are 8 parties represented in the Riksdag, with the Social Democratic Party having the most seats. Rosenbad in Stockholm acts as the seat of the Prime Minister. Stefan Löfven, leader of the Social Democrat Party, has served as Sweden's Prime Minister since 2014. The people of Sweden have high taxes, but they also have extensive welfare benefits. The US...
Yeah, I've heard that your taxes are really, really high. However, like they use your taxes to really, really support people. You guys have, I don't know if it's true, but quality of life in Sweden is probably a little bit better than the UK. Let's see.
News and World Report ranked Sweden as the 3rd best country in the world in terms of quality of life, despite the high taxes. How high are the taxes? Sweden has the 2nd highest total tax revenue in the world behind Denmark as a share of the country's income. As of 2012, total tax revenue was 44.2%, and I promise we are not producing videos in order of who pays the most taxes. Due to a sliding tax scale, people making 1.5 times the average worker pays about 57% in taxes, the highest tax for anyone in the world. In part because of the high taxes, Sweden has one of the best income equality economies in the world, as rated by the Gini coefficient. Some of Sweden's biggest exports include automobiles, telecommunications, and pharmaceuticals. 1.2 million Swedish immigrants came to the United States between 1885 and 1915, and their descendants formed tight-knit communities, many in the American Midwest, and often intermarried with other Swedish Americans. In fact, in 1900, Chicago had the 2nd largest city population of Swedes in the world, behind Stockholm, Sweden. There are many organizations in the United States that preserve Swedish culture, such as the American Swedish Institute in Minneapolis. The Vasa Order of America District Lodges 19 and 20 in Sweden award a Swedish American of the Year every year. Today, there are 4.5 million Americans with Swedish ancestry, with the most being in Minnesota and California. As we mentioned in our episode about Denmark, the Minnesota football team is named in honor of the many people of Scandinavian descent living in Minnesota. Famous Americans with Swedish heritage include Greta Garbo, Emma Stone, Donnie and Mark Wahlberg, fashion designer Michael Kors, John Nordstrom, Swedish-born co-founder of the department store Nordstrom, Charles Rudolph Walgreen, founder of Walgreens drugstores, astronaut Buzz Aldrin, and Charles Lindbergh, the first pilot to fly solo and non-stop across the Atlantic Ocean in 1927.
Okay.
In this section, I like to add facts about a country that are interesting to me that may not have made it into a previous section. One thing that I just can't leave out is the ice hotel in the village of Jukkasjärvi.
Beautiful. I want to go to an ice hotel. Really interesting because, like, is it cold in an ice hotel? I think I spoke to a friend that went to one and he said, actually, it's not actually that cold. Like, it's cold, but it's like bearable.
Please let me know if I said that right. The world's first ice hotel, it has been rebuilt each year. After its first opening in 1990, the hotel, including the chairs and beds, is constructed from snow and ice blocks taken from the nearby Torn River. Besides the bedrooms, there is a bar with glasses made of, you guessed it, ice. And if you are feeling the love, there is an ice chapel that is known to marry couples. For those who think Mickey Mouse is the king of Disney characters, you may get an argument from the people of Sweden. In Sweden, it is tradition to show the cartoon Donald Duck and His Friends Wish You a Merry Christmas on SVT1 at 3 o'clock as part of the channel's traditional Christmas Eve programming, and even includes a live host. In 2020, it was the most watched program in Sweden's history, in which almost half of the Swedish population tuned in. It leads to the question, why do Swedes like Donald Duck so much?
Yeah.
Part of it is ritual, as it's been shown every Christmas Eve since 1959. Another reason is that while Mickey seems to have all the qualities of a hero, and always wins in the end, watching the duck bumble through episodes is more entertaining in Sweden. If you live or have lived in Sweden, please let me know more about the Donald Duck phenomenon.
That's weird, isn't it? Like cultural like phenomenons where, for whatever reason, something becomes tradition. Donald Duck. But I understand, like, if in Sweden they show Donald Duck every Christmas, and Christmas is such a symbolic time of year, it becomes part of the tradition. Like in the UK, they show like Home Alone all the time every Christmas, and what else do they show every Christmas? The Snowman. Aha, the Snowman. That's basically like an old like short like movie, like a mini movie. Like I think it might be like 5 or 10 minutes, and it has like an operatic song. We're walking in the air. Yeah, and they show that every Christmas since the 70s or 80s, 70s. So yeah, I understand. I get it. I get the obsession. I get it.
In the comments. Sweden is a very important part of our global community, and like many other countries is becoming more diverse. About 25% of the country's population comes from somewhere other than Sweden. Wow. People from around the world are moving to Sweden, with the largest populations coming from Syria, Iraq, Finland, and Poland.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up.
Reducing, reusing, and recycling is a way of life in Sweden. In 1967, they were the first country in the world to establish an environmental protection agency. Swedish recycling is so efficient that they ran out of trash, which became a bit of a problem in itself because Sweden also uses alternatives that include incinerating garbage to make electricity instead of using fossil fuels like oil or coal, and to heat 1.2 million homes. According to How Stuff Works, close to half of household trash is sent to one of the country's 33 waste-to-heat plants. Because of the need for at least some trash to create electricity, Sweden now imports trash from other countries to keep the incinerators running.
Wow.
Some major global technology.
So you guys, that just showed the UK. So you guys import our trash. So my rubbish that I throw in the bin goes to you guys to actually create energy. That is amazing. Why are we sending trash to you? Like, we should be using our trash to create energy. That is so energy efficient. That's amazing. Wow. I want to go to Sweden.
Technology companies are from Sweden.
I want to visit.
Ericsson does much more than sell telephones. They also offer services. Ericsson is also the sponsor of the Ericsson Globe, the largest hemispherical building on Earth. Shaped like a large white ball, it represents the sun in the Sweden solar system, the largest scale model of the solar system in the world. Spotify is a Swedish audio streaming and media services provider.
Wait, what? You guys, Spotify is a Swedish service? I didn't know that. So there's so much things you don't know. Like, I use Spotify every single day, and I'm pretty sure most people do. It's like the best streaming service. It's, in my opinion, I think it's better than Apple Music and any of the other ones. But wow, it's Swedish. I thought it was American.
Spotify offers digital copyright restricted recorded music and podcasts.
Wow.
Spotify is available in most of Europe and the Americas, Oceania, and parts of Africa and Asia. Every country and culture contributes to our global community. What did you learn and what did I miss? Please leave your ideas in the comments below.
I learned a lot.
Thanks for watching.
Guys, that was really, I've learned so much about Sweden. I did not know that Sweden, the Spotify one really shocked me. I think they left it to last because I always thought Spotify was an American company, and it's such a huge company. I've learned a lot, and like, yeah, I want to go to Sweden. I just reckon like you're really energy efficient, the way that you like recycle your garbage for energy. Also, you pay high taxes, so I'm guessing like, you know, healthcare is probably really great there, and the streets are probably really clean. Yeah, and like, I didn't know that most of you don't live in the south of Sweden, you live more in the north. I didn't know the Vikings, I always thought all the Vikings, all the Nordic countries, the Scandinavian countries came to the west rather than the east. He said the Swedish Vikings went east to Asia. So yeah, wow. Guys, thank you very much for watching. This is not going to be my last Swedish video. I've got lots more to come. Until the next one, I see you guys later.